Good. Oh, there it goes. I just heard the recording sound. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Kim, for the introduction and a little chat and getting people engaged here before we get started. It is Tuesday, May 16th, 2023, and this is our buyer user group for May. Appreciate everybody joining us today. Happy Mother's Day going back to Sunday to all the moms out there. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend and is looking forward to the summer months as we track towards Memorial Day. Got a lot of great updates for you today, but real quick before I go to the agenda, you'll notice potentially, hopefully you've had a chance to meet and chat with them in the past, but the EVA Deputy Director, Tony Jordan, is with us today. You'll see him in these user group meetings going forward. I actually have a little section that I'm covering today that he might want to pipe up on about EVA tips. So I'll be navigating to that here in just a bit. And you'll see that on the agenda here in just a second. And then Kelly Gill is with us today. She is Barb's deputy. Barb is out for a few weeks, taking care of some knees. And I hope to get Barb back soon. But I know a lot of you know Kelly. She's been with us for several years now, and Barb's deputy, but she'll be joining us today as well and jumping in if she needs to. And certainly I know behind the scenes, those guys start looking at your questions and things like that as well. So delighted to have Tony and Kelly with us today. Got a pretty interesting agenda for us. I'm going to spend some time here right at the beginning going over our April, May release items. We've got a poll. The forum is coming up. I know it's only May, but we are excited and delighted. We are going to have an in-person forum. You guys should have seen the registration and all that information starting to come out. If you haven't, go check out the EVA website or the DGS DPS website for that information. But again, an in-person forum. We are well underway for the planning of that. And from an EVA perspective, specifically, we're going to poll you to get some ideas on things you'd like to see, what you'd like us to cover. And that'll be coming up after I get through the release items. There will be a quick review of, Tony has kind of brought to us some ideas from his past work at other state agencies. And he's cranked up an EVA tip area that I think will be really handy, and we'll be very consistent about updating that based on the schedule Tony's put together. I'm going to navigate to that page to let you see it. I think there's one out there. We just started this. There's one out there, but there's going to be more coming, and they'll be coming on a pretty regular basis. So something new Tony's kind of brought to us from his experience. I'll talk very briefly about the new EVA homepage, and I'm going to be demoing a few things: deleting returns, buying directly off a contract, and a couple tips on, hey, I've got a PO generated. How did I know it got to the supplier, or that the supplier is aware of the purchase order? So a couple little tips to help you guys look at that as well. I'm going to step through. There's a link here there's EVA Release Management that provides a link. Not all of you, that's a secure link. Not all of you can be able to get to that link, but I did then put the release items in here. This is since we last met. The release items since we've last met. I've got them kind of scrunched up in there. Hopefully everybody can read these okay. I'm looking to my right at the presentation view, and it looks like it's big enough for everybody to be able to see, but I will review these very briefly. Going back to April 27th, contract renewals were incorrectly updating active contracts, causing active contract line items to not be available for purchase, and this was on a renewal. So if you did a renewal beforehand, it was causing problems with shopping. We cleaned that up back on April 27th. And before I go one step further, I know Tony's aware of this, and then for Kim as well. For whatever reason on Zoom, I've been in some Zoom meetings with Tony, and my microphone will cut out. It's not happening on Teams, but it happens on Zoom. So if my microphone or something funky happens to my microphone, Somebody come in and just let me know if I have to repeat
We
myself.
will.
You sound good. You're good.
Okay. So
to
far,
go.
so good. So far, I just thought about that as I'm sitting here talking that I've been in some meetings and you can see people like lean in and that, and I'm like, oh dear, and Tony will be like, your microphone cut out, so just watch for that, guys, if I have any microphone trouble. So thank you. Thank you. Next one here, item 2 on the list. We're blocking purchase orders from being placed, delivered to discontinued suppliers. That was actually happening. You guys have been really good about this, and your users have been really good about this. We show you more statuses now. The legacy EVA, you only saw active suppliers, but in our new platform, we're making more of those available because we're trying to avoid duplication of suppliers. So you see suppliers in all sorts of different discontinued statuses. And quite honestly, everyone's been really good about this, but we did have a couple cases where an order would go out to a discontinued supplier. So you do get an error message now when you attempt to do that, which is great. This next one, additional text updates to the supplier purchase order notification. This is all Kim, quite honestly. We identified that we didn't like the email that the supplier was getting when they got an order. She made some changes to that. Then she didn't like the changes as far as some formatting and language and spelling. And she's just been beating this one to death. You're going to see a couple areas where we've been working on the supplier purchase order notification. So that's a big area that Kim's been cleaning up and trying to get all our emails straight and make sure they're make some level of sense as they go out the door to notify our various audiences of things that are going on in EVA. This is another supplier email notice. Suppliers get, when there's a commodity match or something they've bid on in the past, they get a summary email with all of the business opportunities that could be valuable to them or could be ones that they're interested in. Sometimes, even before a supplier gets a chance to click on that link to go view that public posting, there's been an amendment or a change or something like that. So we've are able to update that URL. So when the supplier clicks that link, they're taken to the latest or most recent version of the solicitation. So we fixed that back in April. We didn't want anybody getting a summary email, something happening, and they're going to a prior version or an older version. So just fixing that up on the supplier side from a lead perspective. This next one here, there was an error message when you were missing or didn't have any line items on a requisition. It didn't make much sense. So we cleaned up the language around that. And it's just, please add at least one line item and kind of tells you what to do to get a line item in there. So text cleanup. Got a couple of those in our subsequent releases. Lots of areas about contract cleanup and making our contract management tool better and making the shopping experience better. This next one here, when a contract line item is valid, allow for all items to be found in search products and available for selection and shopping. That came in here just recently on May 11th as we've shifted from April into May. This next one around solicitations, for those of you that do soliciting, we absolutely want to make it available and have it available for you to accept electronic responses. But we do know in some cases paper responses come in and you need that ability to enter those paper responses into the system. Well, there was a setting that allowed you to block the entry of entering paper responses. So we'd have users issuing a solicitation for whatever reason on checking that option, they get a paper response and they couldn't get it keyed in. So we're just locking that setting, allowing for paper responses to be entered. So that's just kind of a safety feature for you guys. But again, hopefully everybody's moving and taking electronic responses and this isn't an issue. But if you do, or if you get that random paper response, this is going to allow you to be able to enter that and not have your end user make a mistake of unchecking that. For our rule builders here, we have allocation accounting data. I'm kind of calling it both things there to make it clear. When we, deleted one of them, like let's say a grant that expired, a fund, a cost code that expired, We don't physically delete anything because you need that referential data for those older transactions. But when we were building new rules, those logically deleted accounting codes were still showing up for us to select. So we did a little fix to make those disappear when we're building new rules, so that we're not building a rule on a a grant or a cost code that's not in use anymore, or that's going away. So a little fix there to that. This next one here, PO print improvements, continuing PO print improvements. If you had header comments, line item view, and total amount view, we were dropping some decimals. We had comments like weirdly wrapping around the total amount and things like that. Everything printed, but just making it cleaner, making sure those decimals were in there, making sure the comments didn't wrap, stuff like that. So just continued PO print improvements. I think we're getting very close. There's one more thing we're waiting on, or one more round of fixes we're waiting on that's going to come in on the 25th. And, knock on wood, I think we'll be done with PO print for the time being. And boy, we've beat that to death the last couple of weeks and months, getting our PO print in a condition that's acceptable for everyone. This next one here, again, with contracts, keeping contracts and line items for shopping active through the effective contract end date. So if I have a contract that ends on the 16th, you should be able, and now will be able, to purchase off that contract by selecting those line items through the end of the day today. So that was a little nuance there that we wanted to clean up, and that better reflects our policy and contract we converted from our legacy system. That's the way they were set up. So excited to get that in for all our contract administrators. Again, there's that order notification to suppliers. So we did one on the 27th. We did one on the 11th. Again, that's Kim kind of beating on us and beating on that area and getting it right for our suppliers, and making sure that purchase order notice is as clear as possible when they get that email notice. Again, another contract one. So you see a lot of work in contracts, but we corrected the contract renewal. The contract renewal wasn't acting like a renewal, it was acting like an amendment. And it was causing prior versions of the contract to drop out of the shopping area. It was acting like a change, not a renewal. So when you do an amendment, that amendment's gonna overwrite the previous version. But when you do a renewal, like let's say you do it ahead of time. I have a contract that's active and I want to get the renewal set up and it's going to start June 1st. Well, that renewal is not going to, do anything to impact my currently running contract. So excited to get that in May as well. These last two here do not allow a canceled purchase order to be changed, amended. You guys are pretty good stewards of that. When I've canceled a purchase order, most of our end users were not going back in and then doing a change order to a canceled order, but we put a block in on that to make sure that can't happen, actually removing those buttons. So a purchase order that's been canceled, it's canceled. It's just going to be gone and sitting there. And then for our confirming orders, we are providing the ability to cancel a confirming order. Doesn't happen a lot. So this issue was a little late getting identified, but we did have a situation where we needed to cancel confirming orders. And that's when you truly, you set the order type to confirming, your ability to go in there and cancel that confirming order. So that got put in. Our next release will be the 25th. I think Kim said June 21st is our next user group meeting. I think I got that.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Thank you, Kim. And we'll have some two more releases by the time we get to talk again in June, and I'll go over those in the next user group. And we're still deciding what that's going to be, working with CGI to get those packaged. So that is our April-May release schedule. So moving on to our agenda, I'm going to turn things back over to Kim. And Kim, I don't know if you need me to stop sharing or not. Um,
Yes, please.
all right, I'm going to stop sharing because we're going to do a poll and we're going to have some fun and let you guys.
Well, I think you can leave your screen up and we can
Oh,
launch the poll.
okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
let me know
Everybody
if you
should,
oh, it did.
everybody should be able to see the poll.
It came up. I'm going to answer the poll too.
Yes.
So look
Oh,
at me.
good. All right. So we are very excited that this year's forum will be in person. The past couple of years, there's been a virtual education conference, which has also been fantastic. But I think we can all admit you cannot mimic the synergy and the energy that you feel when you're actually in the room together with people. So Shane and I, at least being who we are, we're like, woohoo, bring the energy, right? So forum, are you going? I'm planning to attend forum. And we know that this is selective across organizations based on who needs to earn those credits for their certifications and such. So not everybody gets to go every year. There's a forum. I love that some people are like, what? So again, new people to procurement, new people to your organizations. And so we can say a little bit more about that. And Shane mentioned it in the beginning. The second question is we'd like to, you would like to attend a session at Forum to learn more about. And then we've listed our main categories. If there's something else, if you are in that small percentage that's filling out our poll and you're saying something else, I would love to hear what the something else is. And you can drop that in the chat. Okay, in the chat. So if you are filling out the poll, number 2, and you're saying something else, which is very few, few of you, let us know in the chat what that something else might be. And then number 3, I'd be interested in attending an in-person bug session. Yay! You get to see us in person versus virtual. And it would be very much structured, kind of like what we do now. We would really like to make it an open discussion forum, but we like to keep a little reins around it so that we have some structure about what we're getting your feedback on, covering certain topics, that type of thing. And we have done that in the past. It's been a very well attended session, but again, we haven't done an in-person forum in a couple of years. So we want to make sure that we are doing things that you're interested in. And then the last thing is I'd be interested in an unofficial social hour at a local establishment with the EVA team while at forum. So we've done, again, this in the past, and there's lots and lots of new people across our entities and different organizations, and you've never met us in person, and you might not be able to come to one of our sessions just because there's going to be so many great education sessions provided at this year's forum. So, maybe a little after class socialization. And we did have some success in being able to reserve or give a heads up to an establishment that's down in Virginia Beach. There was a rather large group coming in on like a Monday night. Which typically would be very dead for them so that they could staff appropriately. And, we were just kind of gauging whether people would be interested in that. Everybody has different things that they like to go do while they are at forum, and colleagues to meet up with and dinners to have and such. So we just kind of want to know how you feel about everything. So we're about 70%. 70% of you have completed the poll. I'm going to leave it up for just a couple more seconds. And I love that you guys are putting some feedback in the chat. So thank you, because we definitely will take a look at that. And again, if you have questions that are specific to you and your entity, make sure that you're reaching out to your account executive and or getting support through customer care, or using that buyer assistance form to ask those specific questions, because I've got a few questions that are coming over. So I'm trying to also take a look at that. All right, 75% of you have participated in our poll this morning. Going once, going twice. Anybody else? All right, I'm gonna end our poll. And let's go ahead and share our results. So everybody should be seeing that we have about 57% of you that are part of the user group today that are attending the forum, and 29% no, and that definitely happens. And then 14% of you are saying there's a forum. So if you're not familiar with our annual procurement forum, that is something that you can find out more about off of the DGS website. I'll make sure to put the link in the chat so that you can grab the link to the specific information about the forum. There is a communication that comes out, but if you are not on that constant contact list, and they do their best to try and grab everybody that they know that might be interested, especially through recertification of VCO and VCA and the other certifications. If you're not familiar with forum, you can grab it off of VIP's website, and I'll put it out there for you as well. The second question that we have is, I'd like to attend a session at forum to learn more about. And this is really great information. Now, again, it's all based off of our user group feedback today, but I love that we are seeing through this poll that there is a overwhelming majority of you who both sourcing and contracts, which we know there's a smaller user base in general for those tools. But we're seeing that is, of you all attending today, one of the more popular topics that you would absolutely love covered. And it looks like it's just spread across the other tools, that there's definitely interest in learning about, shopping catalogs and supplier management, even with reporting and the security data management aspects. And then the other. So thank you guys for putting some of that. I'm looking over at the chat, some of that feedback in the chat, and I'll be sure to dive through that. And then the next question, I'd be interested in attending an in-person bug session. So thank you guys. It looks like, almost 43% is pretty good. So is saying yes. So that's something that we will consider. And those maybes also, we're going to count those as being interested in that. So thank you for that feedback. And lastly, the unofficial social hour, maybes and yeses more than no's. So we really appreciate all this great feedback. So thank you for participating in our poll today. We will take that, and it will definitely help shape what we provide and present to you at Forum in November. All right, Shane, back to you.
Cool. Thanks, Kim. Appreciate the feedback, everybody. That's good stuff. And we'll probably do a little bit more polling. We'll look at those results and do a little bit more polling in June as we continue to craft the delivery from an EVA perspective of what we want to deliver to you guys content-wise at the forum coming up. So again, great feedback. I'm going to shift to the EVA tip page in just a second, but real quick, just kind of a heads up, probably still going to be several more weeks, several more months. We are doing an update to the EVA homepage. We've got some security requirements, some VITA requirements, just in general, that we're adjusting to. It is going to change the look and feel of the page ever so slightly. For those of you that know Dave Foster, our webmaster, he's working hard at that, and he's going to be focused on that over the next several weeks, shifting us over to this new look and feel. We're going to be baked in a little bit more to DGS than we've ever been. And part of that is just, some compliance things that we needed to do on our end. But again, nothing to show, nothing to see here yet, but wanted to broach that subject with everyone. And certainly the user group, as we get closer to that, as some of our test sites come up and things like that, I'll be able to show you some previews. The other thing I wanted to show you here before we shift over into doing some demos to wrap us up is a new initiative that Tony kind of championed for us. And again, we've got one out there. It's the EVA Tips page. So I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. Stop sharing real quick. Then I'm going to share Maybe I'm gonna share. Pardon me, there it is. I always, you'd think with, I even have reading glasses on, you think I wouldn't struggle so much to see that. So now I'm sharing the EVA homepage. If you go, I think the easiest navigation, in my opinion, you go to iBuy for Virginia. There's a link to training. Hopefully everybody has been on this training page. I know Sarah Lewis is out there shaking her head going, yes, yes, you should have been here. She was our training champion during the transition. And we've added a new tab. If you haven't been to this page, come take a look at it. Talks about different learning pathways you can take to learn about EVA, how to get into training and actually access the modules and take training, some guides, including quick reference guides, the virtual instructor-led training, and then if you need help. But then certainly right here, buyer tips. This is the new area. You click on this, and then there is tips that will be loaded up on this page, and it's going to be a regularly scheduled thing. We've got our first one out there. There'll be one next week. There'll be one the week after. Tony's come off mute and turned his camera on. So Tony, I didn't know if you would like to add anything else, please.
Yeah, we're going to start. It'll be roughly one a week, but there could be supplier tips so that you may not see a buyer one every week. And then starting next week, we're going to have a link here to it'll be we'll call it the 2023 buyer tips archive. We'll just add to that document as we add the buyer tips. So if you miss one or you want to go back and find one, you'll be able to click that document. It'll open up, and then you can search in there, or however you want to find that tip you may have missed, or maybe just browse through and find something you may not know. So we're hoping that helps along those lines. We may be getting an opt-in only email notification if you want to get notified when a new buyer tip is up. Again, that'll be opt-in only. I know some of you are thinking if I get one more email, I'm going to go insane. But for those of you that would like a little reminder, hey, there's a new buyer tip posted, you'll be able to get that too. And so we're hoping to do that. And then we're also working on updating some of the existing EVA guides and everything. So be looking for that soon. Oh, and we're trying to keep those up to date as we start to add these tips in. Hey, that also either some of the tips will guide you back to these EVA guides. Some of those tips may be something new, which will then maybe add to the EVA guides later. So we're just hoping to keep that visible for you, keep giving you tips so you can continue to use EVA in the best way possible.
Cool.
And I will just add, yes, we did. Thank you, Dawn, for the suggestion. How about adding a glossary to tips? We will continue to enhance this area. Maybe sourcing will be one color and P2P will be another color and contracts will be another color. So we're looking at options of how we can best organize and make it visually appealing. Maybe even add like a little template. So if you know something comes out that it's a tip. So stay tuned as we continue to evolve this section, but we appreciate all of the interest in it as well.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Kim. And I know she's not on this meeting, but thank you, Tracy, because she put that tip together that's there. So thank you, Tracy Robinson.
The trailblazer, the first one.
There you go. But again, I think it's some kind of Tony brought to us about getting some information out there, having some regular contact with you guys if you're interested. So, pretty consistent updates that you're going to see in this area. So we're excited about it. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and I am going to go just very briefly back to the PowerPoint and then kind of talk about what we're going to demo. Start sharing again. And as we shift into demo here, and we're going to finish up the rest of this morning.
You're fading a bit, Shane.
See? Darn it. All right. Is it good now?
Yep, you're good now.
Okay, great. Yeah, so see, there's my mic. my mic faded out. So sorry about that. We want a nice, clear microphone. I don't know what causes it. And it's Zoom. I'm not having the issue on Teams. But in any case, thank you to Tony for making me aware of that. So we're going to shift into demo mode for the rest of this meeting. Recs, receipts, and supplier purchase order, creating a rec, purchasing directly off a contract. I want to show you guys that real quick. Deleting draft returns. I want to show you guys that real quick. And then some tips to help you verify if a supplier received your purchase order. Just some tips on that. So I am going to stop sharing again. And I'm going to go back and share Eva. Here we go. The training page is still there. There we are, but I'm going to get out of the training page. Camera here, camera out of the way. Or my video, I guess. It's not a camera necessarily. My video out. I'm going to go into buyer UAT, refresh that, and then I'm actually going to hang on, guys. Let me refresh that. I logged in a little funny. I logged into the user I want to use, but I want to make sure it's a nice clean view of this. There we go. We bump back into UAT. All right. And now I'm going to shift to a user who's more of a basic user, doesn't have all that admin stuff on it that I have. So there you go. Very traditional user, access to suppliers, sourcing, contract, shopping, procurement, analytics in the reporting center. So the first thing I want to do is look at real quick, creating a rec directly off of a contract. So one of your options to buy and select items is certainly you can go to shop and search products. You can also go to procurement, create rec, and you can do a non-catalog. But if you're aware of the contract you're going to buy from, and that contract has line items on it, you don't need to go to search products or to browse and create rec. You can actually go directly to the contract, look at the contract, and then start or create a requisition right out of the contract. So in this case, I'm in UAT. I'm going to browse contracts. I cheated and put the statewide widgets contract up here at the front. But again, you've got all sorts of keyword searches. If you click on the filter here, you can do all sorts of different searches to pull up a contract for you to look at. You can limit them to your scope, but that's going to limit contracts you're the contract admin on. But in the grand scheme of things, this is one area you can go in and pull up a contract that you're interested in buying from. So in this case, I've got the statewide widgets contract. I'm going to drive into that contract. I get a little bit of information right out of the front. I know it has 3 items. Its effective date. We need to get these reports working, but soon we'll have some reports and things going. You can see who's responsible. In this case, it's me. But you get the idea. There can be some high-level information here. I can also go into the header of the contract. And again, notice this is all viewable. I want to kind of see, details about the contract. And I can go in and view the price list as well. So I've got red, white, and blue widgets is what I'm buying today with my football commodity there. So again, a UAT example, but you get the idea. From any area of the contract itself, there's an other actions button. You can just hit that drop down and say, create requisition from contract items. So, if I've gone into this contract and I've looked things over and, maybe there's some attachments on here. I want to, look at the different contacts, maybe have a phone call with them, check the price list out, anything like that. Once I say, yeah, I want to get these widgets. This is the contract I was looking for. You can hit other actions. You can create a requisition right from that contract. And then it locks it in for this user. Let me get the slide down. It locks it in for this user. These are product-based. Got my widgets down here. I can select individual, or I can select all the line items if I want to put them on my requisition. And then I simply hit create requisition from contract items. In this case, I'll select all three. And that will pull those items directly into requisitions. I got to do an allocation there, but it pulls those items directly in to my requisition. All right, it pulls those items right in. Order quantity in this case was defaulted to 1. I could certainly, drive in to an individual line item and get my quantity updated. There's my quantity right there. But I just wanted to show you guys that to set the allocation very quickly, since I pulled in items that aren't allocated, you can click top, select all three or any combination and hit set allocation. Oh, I left some stuff off. I didn't put required things on my header. So let me set those real quick. That would be PO category and procurement transaction type. There we go. So I got to get some of those default things. Let me change my title here. User group. And now I'll come down here. My items are still selected.
You're fading again, Shane.
It's fading again.
There you go. You're back.
Shoot. All right, I'm back. I need to set my addresses too. So pardon me. That'll work. And that'll work. So you do have to key in your required requisition information, including addresses, including your PO category and procurement transaction type. And then finally, you can come down here. If I need to do my allocations, you can mass set your allocations. I have a template there that's preloaded, or if you didn't want to use a preloaded template, you could hit the little plus. Your allocations would come up. You can set those allocations, apply it to all lines and close. And now all my line items are allocated and I could do anything else I needed to do, comments, and submit the rec for approval. So again, I just wanted to show you that real quick, and I'll go ahead and save that. I'll save and close. So that'll save that requisition in draft, takes me back to the contract. But again, the point here is you can browse for contracts, and any contracts that you have access to. And for a lot of you guys, it's going to be the statewide contracts or agency created contracts. You can come directly into them, check out the line items that are available, and then create a requisition right from those contracts. That is one of the things I wanted to show you guys today. It's just a different method. There's multiple ways to skin the cat, is the saying, in our new EVA platform. So again, I think this can be really handy, especially if you need to read over any terms and conditions or figure out more details about the contract. It also gets the contract number directly onto your line items, which is a good thing as well. Another area I wanted to show you is deleting draft returns. So we know we have the ability, and I'll just browse orders.
Hey,
here.
real quick, Shane, on the
Yes.
contracts part. I'm sorry, we
Yes.
got a question that came over. And it was asking, you created it says, when going through contracts, are you able to get to catalog if the contract has a punch out?
Oh, if the contract has a punch out, boy, that's a good question. I was thinking more about the line items. When I have to shift over to production to do the PO, the tips on how. So we'll have a look at that, because I should be able to pull up the office supplies contract. And we'll have, now I got to remember, I can't create a requisition and submit one, but we'll have a look at that. That's a very, very good question.
Thanks, Loretta, for asking that.
And we'll have a look here in just a sec. So the next thing I want to do is just real quick, talking about deleting draft returns. We know now we can delete draft receipts. In here. Oh, I should have cheated, because I want to pull up just my orders. There we go. So I've got 4 orders here associated with the account. A couple of them are in final delivery. I can go into this PO. I can go over to my receipts, and I've got all sorts of receipts here. And even, I got a draft return right there. Look at that. So I'll just go into that. So from a receipt, I can create a return. And also, if I have a return, in this case, there's one in draft, I can drive into that return. And unlike our receipts, when I have the button just says cancel at this point. It doesn't say discard. But if you cancel a draft return, and then once you hit cancel, you notice the status change to deleted. And if you just hit save and close, that sets that return to deleted. So I know that's just a really quick thing, but I wanted to show you guys that it's a little different. Let's see, do I have a receipt in deleted here? In draft. Oh, there's one. Although I don't think, yeah, hang on, that's bad data. Let me get to.
And while you're scrolling for that, one of the questions was, on the same topic of entering a rec via a contract. Is it possible to relate the rec to the contract if entering outside of the contract? The answer is yes, because you would go through and shop the catalog item associated with the contract.
Correct.
So when
So
we
you're
create
kinda hitting it-
contracts, yeah.
Yeah, I was just showing you another method.
Yeah.
I was just showing you another method there. So I just wanted to show you on a receipt, you actually get a discard button here on a receipt. For a return, it just says cancel. Okay. So let me go ahead because this is. And I'll knock that one. So that deleted that particular.
You're faded again, Shane.
Oh, that
There you
one's in
go.
deleted
Now you-
status. There
Speak
we
up a
go.
bit. There you
Thanks,
go.
Tony.
Yep.
Thanks, Tony. So again, on a receipt, it says discard. On a return, you got a cancel button. I just wanted to show you that nuance. So now let me shift out of here and oops. And let's go to production. I'm going to log out. And let's just go into production. I want to try to answer that question about the punch out catalog real quick. And then I'll wrap up with some tips. So I'm in production. I'm going to be very careful not to hit submit. Browse contracts. I think it's office supplies. Let's try that one. All right. So we do have an amendment. So there's the supply room. Let's drive into that. And I know the supply room has a punch out. So let's see. So I'm in there. All right. I have the option to create, but if this is a punch out, let's see. Yeah, I'm not directly seeing and I see that it's a punch out because the line item says punch out. I'm not directly seeing the add to cart option. Let me try to drive into that real quick. Oh, nope, there it is. So it's a little bit of navigation to get to that. There are, a couple links here. It's not completely clear. We do have the line that says punch out. And if I clicked on that line item, I could get to it from the contract, which is great. That's one of the options. Not quite as clear when you just have general line items. So again, lots of ways to skin the cat here. One of the simplest is going to shop and search products. And then obviously from here, you've got contract items here as well. And if you're curious, you can come over here and you can actually search for the contract. So I can pull up, the various office supplies contracts here as well. So you've got some options where you can search directly. Pretty sure that pulls it. There you go. Now remember, I'm an admin here, so I'm seeing a lot more. So I've seen VMIs and VSUs, and there's our state of Virginia one and all sorts of stuff. So I see a lot because of my admin privileges, but you get the idea. That is the other way to go in, and is you just directly go in and shop and search for. I just wanted to show you guys a different way to do it, particularly for those of you that have the contract, the contract, and maybe not necessarily the line items associated with the contract or each individual line item, but I know there's a contract for widgets. So I can go in, I can pull that contract up and then, drive in that way. And you don't have to then leave. When you're looking at a contract, you can immediately start placing an order without having to leave the contract area. All right. So in the last couple of minutes that we have here, I do want to do a little bit of wrap up around, we've gotten some questions, we've gotten some feedback about, hey, how do I know my purchase orders made it to the supplier? Now here's the trick. This is about confirming that the purchase order made it to the supplier. There's no guarantee that the supplier has logged into their account, read their email, that the order entry system for the supplier got loaded up properly. But again, really kind of focused on EVA. Did EVA generate that purchase order, and did that purchase order move from my buyer account into the supplier account? Again, no guarantee that the supplier took the correct action, but we can be confident on the EVA side if we're in touch or talking to that supplier that, hey, you have a copy of the order. I confirm that you have a copy of the order. And here's some tricks on how to do that. I have a couple examples. So the first one here, I'm just going to take a browse orders. I've got a couple order examples I can show you guys. Let's pull up this order. So this order here at the top, it's the Bob Barker Company, $417, getting some hygiene items from Bob Barker. You can click on that PO number. And, did the supplier get a notice? Are they aware? Quick, so you get a little fuller view there. Is the supplier, did they get a notice? Did the order generate? Do they have a copy of the order? So if you go down on the purchase order itself, there's a history section, and you have a section that says history of PO sent. So I know that Sabrina Henner and their customer service email address both got an order notification. Now, this is just an email, but they got an order notification back on May 1st that there was a new order for them to deal with, right? So 2 contacts in this case got a notification of the order. That's a good thing. The other thing you can do, and you can, do a Control-C, like you can copy this order or write it down, is at the top of the purchase order, in the header of the PO, you see that little chain link sitting there? Well, that links you to the supplier account. So you can click on that. And that's going to launch the supplier details view. The first page you get on is a supplier overview. If you scroll down, that's loading up there. It's the area, of course, I need to get to. It must have a lot of orders. I don't know why that's taking so long to load. Well, in any case, once this loads and this area, much like these little bubbles, you would see the orders that are there. So that is really strange that that's not loaded. Let's try it. Uh-oh. Did I lose you guys?
No, you're on. And we
Okay, just making sure my
Yeah.
VPN didn't blow up or anything.
no,
There we-
I think that our network, at least in office, has been a little slow for me this morning. So
Okay, well, I'm on the VPN, so I would be there. Okay, so there it goes. You see all those active orders. If you click here, these are the orders associated with that supplier. Now, if you're looking for somebody else, notice the first thing that comes in, it pulled my information. So it pulled in me. It pulled in me. If you're looking for somebody else, which I am in this case, you need to knock that out. And then I can put, and then I know from the supplier account that that order is associated with that particular supplier and that it's been generated and that it's an ordered status. Okay. You can also knock that out, hit search, and this is going to return all their orders. All right. So all the orders associated with that supplier. So in this case, not only did the supplier get the order notification, but the purchase order generated and it's in their supplier account. So if they would log into their EVA account on the supplier side, that order will be there in their acknowledge order area. So let me close this. And I know we're up on time. There's 1 whole minute left. I want to show you a couple other examples because there's some nuance to this, like procurement, orders, search for another order here. Going very quickly here. So this is to MSC Industrial. I click on that PO. Can highlight my mouse. I notice it's an ordered status there. If you can put your mouse up there and see the status that it's in. It's an ordered status. You can scroll down and like, okay, I want to see if they got a notice. Oh dear, I don't see a notice. This isn't good, right? So they didn't get a notification. Do I have a problem? Well, again, that's just the email. So again, I would grab this PO number, go to the MSC Industrial link. There's all their orders. Click on here. Take myself out of here. Pull up that particular order, or I could run it for all orders and I'll see, okay, that order generated, it's in their account. Why did they not get an email notice? It seems a little odd, right? And we have a handful of our suppliers, close this and I'll go back in, that get their orders via CXML. And I know some of our biggies, Supply Room, MSC Industrial, your lab supply companies, there's about 40 to 50 suppliers that get CXML order delivery. Now, this is a little bit trickier, but obviously I've confirmed that they have a copy of the order in their account, which is great. If you're really curious about this and you remember this, when you go into the supplier's account, you can go to P2P information and hit interface enrollment. And I can tell that the supplier gets their orders via CXML. So if that purchase order is associated with the supplier and it's in ordered status, they got a copy of the order. Okay. And then one last thing, I know we're 2 minutes over time. I'm going to show you one more example. Search. Brings back this supplier. And again, I scroll down. Oh no, no history. I can click on that supplier. And again, the order is going to generate in this case. But this supplier stayed entered. So your PO print roll should have fired. So that's obviously one key that you need to make sure you get the order delivered to that supplier. But then if you want to verify, this is another area to check as well. Just below the supplier overview, the company information, and we can see that this is a state entered supplier. And so technically in the supplier overview, they've definitely got orders associated with them, the order generated, but because the supplier in a state entered scenario does not have a user ID that has access to the supplier account because it is state entered, you got to make sure that, you know, that PO print roll is going to fire. You, your end user, the buyer, however you want to say that, is responsible for the order delivery. And then you can always confirm that, wow, why didn't the email notice go out? Well, there's no state entered. You don't have a supplier that's getting that information, but you know, you can come here and you can see the state. So again, those are just a couple little tips and tricks and some things I wanted to show you today. We are 3 minutes over time. I appreciate everybody hanging with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy Mother's Day from a couple days ago to all the moms out there. And then going forward, we'll be meeting June 21st is our next user group meeting. So happy Memorial Day and happy unofficial start of summer to everyone. And for all of you that have graduates or folks that have already graduated, congratulations. And we'll see you guys very, very soon.
Yes, we will. And a playback will be provided. We'll email that out to our buyer user group members, as well as it will be posted on our EVA website. We look forward to having you all and many more hopefully join us for our June 21st user group. An invitation will go out about a week before for everyone to register officially. Until then, we will wish you all the happy EVA purchasing. All right. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of the week. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Bye.